Hi, everyone. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Welcome to my program. This is what I call Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. We're here most days around 2 p.m. Pacific to come talk about the news. Had to talk about the news today. There's so much today. Starting with that Luigi Perp walk, right? You got to talk about that today. You got to talk about the shutdown. How do we have a President Elon Musk? Is that it? I mean, the unelected leader who is essentially the President of the United States? Because when you give $300 million to someone who calls himself the President-elect, I mean, you're part of the family, right? He gets in on like family pictures and portraits and gatherings. He's seen with Trump, and we see the closest now. He has such influence that he can stop a bipartisan effort to keep the government open if he has some doubts. Like, what is it? Raise for the congressman? What is that? And this, it's already pretty disgusting. I mean, when you consider that Elon Musk has all these government contracts, right? I mean, he's not some innocent, objective bystander. No, he's a partisan. He's a player. And what gives him the influence is not, the votes of the American public, but the dollars that he's earned off the public in general, because it's not just Americans. I'm sure it's global. But he gives $300 million to Donald Trump. Of course, you if you gave $300 million of your money to get some buffoon elected, you would say, "Hey, I own you," right? I mean, that's the whole thing about that. That's the disgusting thing about what we have now. We essentially have, I mean, I hate to say it, but people have been saying it. I mean, they know what it is. We have. I mean, I don't want to say it because it's true, and it's also sad because it never has been out in the open like it is now. But we do have an American oligarchy. If the first time I heard the term oligarchy was, I guess I was covering the Marcos regime here in the United States, but we were covering it as U.S. reporters covering the actions of a democracy that was deranged and a dictatorship, and this is why we were covering it as American reporters. It was supported by the American government. We outsourced dictatorship to the Philippines, essentially. And now we're toying with the idea of having, an autocracy, a dictatorship here. Maybe a soft one, a soft dictator, softy. Dictator, how would you say it? Dictatorship. A soft D, not a big D dictatorship, although Trump would want a big D. But a small D dictatorship. So that was the first time in the Philippines, the first time I heard the phrase oligarchy, which is, the rich corrupting democracy, corrupting government, getting them meddling in all sorts of business. And isn't it convenient in the Philippines when the rich oligarchs were all related or all in the government anyway? So it was a natural. Here, the rich have always been kind of arm's distance, elitists. And this is another thing that's developed over the last year or so, maybe 5 years, some people would say. Or, when Bernie Sanders was rejected by the Democratic Party. But some people would say, hey, the elitists were always the Republican rich, the elites, the people with money. Somehow that got flipped over. Whoops. My gesticulating actually almost flipped over my my computer setup here. It got flipped over when now the Democrats are seen as the elites because the switch has happened. If you haven't noticed the big switch is now we no longer argue about race because, that's for the woke. And we no longer talk about class really because we want to like downplay class so we can get to this other transition that we really want, which is, hey, the real problem is the Democrats are the elites and the Republicans aren't. Ew, how does that make sense? Oh, because there's this new thing. College education. That's the new drawing, the new dividing line. It's not race, it's not class, it's college. Where you went to college. And that used to be part and parcel of, the elites. But now that more people of color are going to college, that has become a new dividing line because guess who's not going to college that much? Whites. And so in that one little, defining point, college, higher education, we have a new dividing point, new dividing line that the Republicans like better than anything else. Because the educated vote for the Democrats and the uneducated voted for the Republicans. And, the Republicans want to get all those people in line and say, hey, we're with you. Rich Republicans are with you. You uneducated white people who don't go to college. We like you. But those Democrats, they're the elite. And they're the problem with America. The new dividing line. And that's what's going on. I mean, I know some people will say, oh, come on, Emil, you're so elementary. Such a simpleton. No, I'm breaking it down simply. Doesn't make me a simpleton. It just means I have to explain it simply because I have to deal with uneducated people who didn't go to college. And, we need to understand this. It's important to understand. So that's the new dividing line. That's the new thing that people hate. It's not a matter of race and class. Class people want to fudge a little bit because, there are rich Republicans and rich Democrats. But now the rich Republicans have taken over in this political debate by saying, hey, you know what? The real division in this country is between the educated and the uneducated. And we elite, rich Republicans, we love the uneducated because they vote for us. Meanwhile, those educated people who go to college, they vote Democrat. So that's how we got here. 2020. And that's how Kamala Harris lost. The Democrats lost. And we get King Chaos, Donald Trump, as president-elect, who even before he gets into office, he is causing all sorts of problems. All sorts of problems. This shutdown thing, now, this is a last-minute thing. Apparently, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, has been able to carve out some kind of new Plan B that Republicans are trying to get Democrats to join in on, another bipartisan thing. This one is, though, passes the muster of Donald Trump and presumably Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is being silent, but Donald Trump is putting things on his social media saying, hey, we saved the government. He's already pronouncing, I've saved the government, Donald Trump says. Let's see, where is that? He's already pronouncing that he has done it, and even before there's a vote, here was the tweet, or the social media post. Success in Washington. This is from Donald Trump, just with an hour ago or so. Speaker Mike Johnson and the House have come to a very good deal for the American people. The newly agreed to American Relief Act of 2024 will keep the government open, fund our great farmers and others, and provide relief to those severely impacted by the devastating hurricanes. A very important piece, vital to the American First agenda, was added as well. The date of the very unnecessary debt ceiling will be pushed out 2 years to January 30th, 2027. Now we can make America great again very quickly, which is what the people gave us a mandate to accomplish. All Republicans and even the Democrats should do what is best for our country and vote yes for this bill tonight. This is what Donald Trump says. Now it has Donald Trump's seal of approval, and this is it. But really, more than Donald Trump's seal of approval, it has Elon Musk's seal of approval, because it was Elon Musk who deep six the bipartisan measure that yesterday that caused all this commotion before Christmas. Oh, are we going to get our unemployment checks? Are we going to fund the military? Are we going to get money for the farmers? Everyone relies on the government for something, right? Even Elon Musk and all his government contracts. And I'm sure that was finally like, I didn't figure. See, this is the thing. You got Elon Musk, the unelected president of the United States, who doesn't know how government works. And suddenly he makes some stupid statement on X that causes everyone to fear, what's going to happen if I vote against Musk? We'll be primaried, we'll be ostracized. The Republican leaders in this country are just they're on remote control. They're led by remote control by Musk, who leads Trump. And then that's the order, the pecking order here. Elon Musk, the $300 million, the $300 million that he gave to Donald Trump. That's what's behind this. And I guess if the Democrats agree with this new Plan B, maybe we'll have the legislation needed. Has to pass by tomorrow night. We'll have what's needed to get by the threat of a government shutdown. And what a silly government shutdown it would have been. And with all these things that the American public needs. And I think that's what dawned on Donald Trump, that, I listened to Elon. What a stupid man I am for listening to Elon. Look, I still need Elon, so I'll make it sound like I did this with Mike Johnson, and we'll like put Elon aside. I'm telling you, we have not yet even gotten to the official term of Donald Trump, and already, just imagine the last 24, 48 hours and magnify that, like 10x, 100x that for 4 years. Can we last 4 years like that? We know what a first Trump term was like. That was not great. We had, you name it, shithole countries. We had what other phrases? And what the Muslim ban that was then reversed. We had mothers being ripped apart from their babies at the border. And the thing about government is supposed to work. Government is supposed to be bipartisan and work for the American people. I heard a Republican talk about that today, and he said, I'm a former mayor, he said, and governments are supposed to work. It's not supposed to be like people, at loggerheads, always in conflict. That's the difference between the feds and the people at the grassroots. I mean, I've been to more city council meetings in the last 20 years. I've been just within the last 2 months, I've been to 2 city council meetings because I'm the poet laureate of my little town. But I do know how city government works because I covered local governments as a reporter. You don't get the kind of bipartisan hatred. That only happens up at the top, at the federal level. But at the local level, people generally want to get along. And that's where people should get involved. And that's where people can see government works. But, so who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? We hope they come up with a compromise that Elon Musk can approve. But the real problem, I think, is talking about why does Elon Musk have this amount of power? I guess $300 million in contributions to the Trump campaign gives you a right to do something, but not to jack around with our democracy. I don't think, right? Anyway, Elon Musk as a leader in our government. What's his name? Rand Paul. Senator Rand Paul floating this idea that, maybe Elon Musk should be Speaker of the House. Speaker of the House. After what happened yesterday, I don't know, but some people are in this burn the house down, burn the house. What is going on? Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, burn the house down. Nancy Mace, all the MAGA types are saying, burn the house down. No, we need to keep the house in order. What happened to sanity in government? So, oligarchy. I first heard the term when I was covering the Philippines, the Marcos regime, and that's not a good thing. Where the rich get everything, and what about the poor people? What does the working class get? And this is a moment to reckon with. I mean, a lot of people who are working class voted Republican, voted for Donald Trump because of the price of eggs and because they saw, out of focus groups, right? People say, well, my paycheck was more under Donald Trump than it was under Joe Biden. So I think we are... I don't know what's going to happen to American politics, but 2025, it should be interesting to see how much power is ceded to Elon Musk over just, Donald Trump and the Republican. Well, the Republicans don't have much of a leadership in the House. They've got like a 2-vote majority, something like that. But it's, pay attention. It's going to be an interesting year because Donald Trump essentially is a lame duck. And what I fear is the focus will be on Trump when you should be focusing on all the underlings who will be emerging. I mean, if Trump goes up in flames, well, who emerges next as a leader? I'd say the people to look at right now are the quietest ones. Look at Senator Josh Hawley out of Missouri. Look at J.D. Vance. Look at Tom Cotton. Look at people who are just like not getting involved, because that's the future of the Republican Party. And will that be better? Will they be better versions of Trump, or will they be just better Republicans? I mean, normal Republicans, like Liz Cheney Republicans. It's amazing that some MAGA types, perhaps to appease Trump, they want to go after Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney is, boy, nothing like a Trump to make Republicans that you used to hate seem very acceptable. By comparison. Would you rather have Donald Trump or Liz Cheney? I mean, but the Trump types have vilified the neocons as these warring types. Well, Donald Trump says he's not a warring type, but he sure does fund that military. So what's the difference, really? And Donald Trump loves tariffs. That's the other thing. Oh, boy, we're going to have a reckoning over tariffs when that day. I mean, you know, the whole thing, the Musk and the shutdown of the government. Oh, it sounds good in the walk up to the actual, oh, this is what really happened. See, Elon Musk doesn't understand how the government works. Doesn't understand how Congress works. But you know, you take other things down the road and we say, oh, is that the way it works? Oh, we don't want that. We're going to self-correct. It's like a self-correcting car. Mulligan, says Trump. So anyway, hi to all the listeners out there. Some Marcus is out there. Hi to Marcus. Hi to everyone. Hi to everyone who is on board. Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. We're here Monday through Friday. We talk about the news. The big news today, let's get a swish in, because we've talked enough about Trump and the government and all that, the shutdown. Let's hope it comes back. Well, we want to talk about bird flu. But first, let's talk about Luigi. Man, the Luigi Perp Walk. If you want a Perp Walk, if you want to see what could a Perp Walk be like, I mean, he gets flown in to, from Pennsylvania to Islip. He gets out, and then he gets put in a helicopter from Long Island to New York. And man, I have always, well, I remember my days in the 80s when I was going back and forth between New York and San Francisco a lot. And a friend of mine had, and I remember the days of Pan Am. Pan Am used to have a helicopter service that was open to everybody. I mean, you know, regular coach guys like me could use it. But it was a little extra, but it wasn't that much. But you could go from JFK to the Pan Am rooftop and see this great view of New York and just, you know, marvel at, you know, hey, I'm bypassing all the traffic. I'm going on by helicopter. So whenever I see something like what happened today with Luigi, although he was coming from Islip, Long Island, I think about those days. I say, God, I used to be in that helicopter. So there was Luigi, gets off the helicopter. This is also another thing when, you know, as a reporter, you know, you're on the other side of the barricade or the police tape and, you know, shooting, taking notes, observing. Oh, they had one photographer. It was a police photographer. But it just reminded me of, you know, news guys, photographers, writers, we're all on this side looking at the news guy. And the news guy was Luigi Mangione. And he gets off the helicopter and he's protected. He's like surrounded by the NYPD, long rifles, because I guess they fear that someone would go after Mangione. But actually, man, if Mangione is the hero, is seen as the hero by, social media, maybe the cops were there to protect the other cops, because who would be the villains? The social media has dubbed Luigi Mangione as Saint Luigi, right? The patron saint of furious healthcare insurance, frustrated people upset with healthcare insurance. So, he was surrounded by these people, but he also needed to be in view of the people, the scribes and the photographers who were on an adjacent pier and who got a full view of Luigi Mangione. And there he was. Oh, wow. There was Luigi. The eyebrows. Like I said, he'd still be free. If he had just plucked his eyebrows. People wouldn't have fingered him. If he shaved his head and plucked his eyebrows, people would say, well, there's this weird guy. He might have alopecia, but is he a killer? I don't know. So Luigi takes his walk. It's like a perp walk like I've never seen before. Usually a perp walk is a short thing, right? No one wants the publicity. They don't want to show the cops. They don't want to show the cops' face. Notice some cops had their faces, obscured. Maybe they were undercover. Maybe, they didn't want their identities known. But they walked Luigi out slowly. It must have been like a 30, 40-second walk to the next point, which was they got him out of the helicopter into a car, into a Ford Aerostar. I mean, it's like Ford. Someone said it was a Sprinter van, but the Sprinter is Mercedes. But it was like a Ford upright. Gets in, goes off, perp walk. And the surprising thing today is that it was a perp walk for a federal crime. We saw, everyone thought that he was going to go to the state court, and they were all set up there because Alvin Bragg, the attorney general, or district attorney, excuse me, of New York, he got the charges, the murder charge, murder 1, murder 2, with the terrorism attached to terrorism as a state charge. And no one figured, well, we questioned, state going terrorism? Shouldn't that be the feds? No. The feds are going after Luigi Mangione for firearms charges and the interstate activity in planning this and stalking, federal stalking charges. So this is a new thing. They unsealed those charges this morning, and suddenly everyone switched focus from the state to the feds. Wow. And then Mangione comes. This is a big deal, a big case. And now the fact that we knew that Mangione wasn't going to, block extradition anymore. He wasn't going to fight that. He was going to come in because he had hired his high-priced, fancy, high-profile defense lawyers. Karen, she used to do commentary on CNN. She and her husband, who also is the lawyer for P. Diddy. So it's kind of interesting. She goes in, and according to the reports, her first clarification is, what's this? Karen Angfilio, as I think her name is, already had objected to the overcharges on the state level. Now on the federal level, the question is, is this sort of like double jeopardy? Are we being indicted on, are we putting poor Luigi through the ringer on the same charges twice for the same act? This is going to be, this is how defense lawyers think. Lawyers know that everyone deserves a defense. This will likely be the defense for Luigi. He's certainly not going to use the social media defense. Oh, everyone loves me. Everyone loves my eyebrows. No, he's not going to use that. But interesting, I think, just watching the perp walk. You got this high-profile perp walk. Everyone wants to show off. Everyone wants to be seen with the perp. The mayor of New York was there. So it's such a high-profile case that everyone wants a piece. This is the AP story. The man accused of killing United Healthcare's CEO was whisked back to New York by plane and helicopter Thursday to face new federal charges of stalking and murder, which could bring the death penalty if he's convicted. Luigi Mangione was held without bail following a Manhattan federal court appearance that occurred shortly after he returned to New York. He remained shackled at the ankles throughout the 15-minute proceeding, during which he told the magistrate he understands the allegations against him. Now, here's the thing that I noticed also. He was in street clothes. He was off. And when I thought about that, I thought, yeah, you wear an orange jumpsuit. And what does that say? Clothes make the man. If you're wearing prison garb, people will just assume, oh, he's guilty. And so it was pointed out in some of the reports I saw. He was wearing a regular shirt and a 3/4 zip and khakis, looking like a regular guy, and like the 20-something-year-old he is. And I thought, now that's, you're thinking now, because if you're going to get pictures taken, get pictures taken of you in your normal garb, but that perp walk's going to be seen by a lot of people, and they're going to see him as, oh, the guy in the bushy eyebrows and the jumpsuit. Guilty. That's what they're going to think, right? Is going to make it harder to get a jury of his peers there in New York. The defense lawyers they have a lot to work with. The hearing followed morning court appearances in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested last week, 5 days after the shooting of Brian Thompson. Brian Thompson gets mentioned in the third graph, the CEO. Mangione now faces state and federal prosecutions in New York. Manhattan's top federal prosecutor said in a release that the state charges were expected to proceed to trial first. So the state charges first, that's murder, and the murder with the terrorism, the second-degree murder with the terrorism, first-degree murder, and I think there's a second charge there that's associated with terrorism. After his Pennsylvania court hearings, Mangione was immediately turned over to at least a dozen NYPD officers who were in the courtroom and led him to a plane bound for Long Island. He then was flown to a Manhattan heliport, where he was walked slowly up a pier by a throng of officers with assault rifles. Slow is, that describes it. He was slow. It was like, hey, we got him. We got him. Take your selfies now. And there had to be people there. If there were people there, and there were some tourists there who were taking pictures and like timing their selfies so they can get the perp walk behind. Don't need no Photoshop. We'll just do it live. The federal complaint filed Thursday charges him with 2 counts of stalking and 1 count each of murder through use of a firearm and firearms offense. Murder by firearm carries the possibility of the death penalty, though federal prosecutors will determine whether to pursue that path in coming months. So there's the federal charges, 2 counts of stalking. Because he laid in wait, right? So that's different from the state charges, which is murder 1 and murder 2 with terrorism attached. The New York State indictment filed earlier this week, Mangione was charged with murder as an act of terrorism, which carries a possible sentence of life in prison without parole. New York does not have the death penalty. So, another twist. New York, no death penalty. The feds could be a death penalty. His attorney said dual state and federal cases puts the defense in a highly unusual situation. Oh, here's her name. Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Frankly, I've never seen anything like that, like what is happening here. She reserved the right to petition for bail at a later point. Agnifilo declined to comment as she left the courthouse. The 26-year-old Ivy League graduate is accused of ambushing and shooting Thompson on December 4th outside a Manhattan hotel. Notice they say Ivy League graduate. They know where he went to school. But you say Ivy League graduate, and that's another reversal. Normally we think of Ivy League graduates like Emil Guillermo. No. Killer. Ordinarily we see Ivy League graduates as Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. No. Bill Gates, Ivy League dropout. Authorities have said that when Mangione was arrested on December 9th, while eating breakfast at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, he had the gun used to kill Thompson, a passport, fake IDs, and about $10,000. That's all you need, $10,000. According to the federal complaint, Mangione also had a notebook that included several handwritten pages expressing hostility toward the health insurance industry and wealthy executives in particular. An August entry said that, quote, the target is insurance, unquote, because, quote, it checks every box. And that is what I wrote about. You can see that on Inquirer.net or also on ASAM News. I mean, really, I don't glorify Luigi Mangione, but I think he captures the frustration of the people. Remember, this is an American public that elects a president based on the price of eggs, the high price of eggs. So you got to take seriously all the rejections that people have faced because of insurance. Decline, deny, those were two words that were on the bullet shells or bullet casings at the scene. And frankly, the fact that they released that part of the quote manifesto, quote unquote manifesto, the phrase, the target is insurance. I mean, it's important because people need to know and understand insurance. And I was reading something from the New York Times. One of United Healthcare's leadership said, yeah, we may be at fault because we haven't communicated. We don't tell people. No, you're at fault because you don't treat people like people. You don't treat people as human beings. When you make a rejection, people need to know why you're making a rejection. Because when they see that you're rejecting something that is legitimate, a legitimate claim for some kind of cure, some kind of treatment for an ailment, and you're rejecting it, you better be explaining that. And that's never been explained because health insurers do not care about people. Health insurers do not care about you. They care about your dollars. Don't let the check bounce. They want the money and they want you to stay well. because as long as you stay well, they don't have to pay out the money in terms of benefit, because they insure you for that. The moment that your premiums are paid, yeah, you're insured. Oh, congratulations. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for that. You're insured. Now, there's that next level of scrutiny. Okay, well, is it a legitimate claim? And that's where they get you. That's where the rubber meets the road. Because if it's a legitimate claim, they honor, they pay, they have lots of money. But this is why the most important people in insurance companies are the actuarial folks, because they determine what gets covered and what doesn't. If there's a lot of people having X illness, guess what? They're not paying a lot of it. They'll pay a little bit. It's a little too popular an ailment. Everyone has it. That's why you don't get insured for the common cold. Everyone has it. Not going to pay for that. But if you get something like, even cancer treatment, because there's no cure. So I just know that the definition of what is insurable, who determines that? Not a doctor, generally. It's usually determined by the experience of an insurance company to pay out. And they don't like to pay out. Insurance companies like you to pay the premium. They like to keep it. They like to then grow this pool of money they have and loan it out to people or businesses, or make interest on this large pool of money. They don't want to pay it back to you in terms of benefit. That's how it works. And credit Luigi for making everyone sort of more aware of how this works. Because until that happened, I don't know if people really thought about that. They thought, oh, I'm insured. I'll be covered. No. Did you read the fine print? No, I just go through it just like, when I buy anything on the internet. No, you got to read it. See, it says not covered. So anyway, this is the value of Luigi Mangione. No one is pro murder, no. But he's acting like a super consumer advocate and making people pay attention. If he says the target is insurance because it checks every box, it's time for people to pay attention. And frankly, it's time for people to consider, and when I say people, I mean like the legislators, to consider a program like Medicare for all. For all. It works for older people. Why couldn't you get it for everyone else? That's what Bernie Sanders wanted when he ran for president. According to the AP story, investigators believe Mangione was motivated by anger toward the U.S. healthcare system and corporate greed. But he was never a United Healthcare patient or client, according to the insurer. Mangione initially fought attempts to extradite him during 2 brief court appearances in Pennsylvania on Thursday. The killer ignited an outpouring of stories about resentment toward U.S. health insurance companies, while also shaking corporate America after some social media users called the shooting payback. Video showed a masked gunman shooting Thompson, 50, from behind and then firing several more shots. Now that's why I don't know if that's a terrorist act. That doesn't sound like a terrorist act. Is like a suicide bomber. So maybe Karen Agnifilo will use that argument when she fights the state. The suspect eluded police despite authorities widely circulating photos of his unmasked face. until Mangione was captured in Altoona, about 277 miles west of New York. Ah, that widely circulating photo of an unmasked face. I'm telling you. Shaved head, bushy eyebrows. Pluck the bushy eyebrows, shave the head. He'd still be free. Mangione, a computer science graduate from a prominent Maryland family, elitist. He's an elitist. Repeatedly posted on social media about how spinal surgery last year had eased his chronic back pain, encouraging people with similar conditions to speak up for themselves if told they just had to live with it. In a Reddit post in late April, he advised someone with a back problem to seek additional opinions from surgeons and, if necessary, say the pain made it impossible to work. Mangione wrote, "We live in a capitalist society. I found that the medical industry responds to these keywords far more urgently than you describing unbearable pain and how it's impacting your quality of life." That's interesting. We live in a capitalist society. So he was a scion of a rich, wealthy family, and he, because of his back pain, saw the light and wanted equity for everyone. He wanted to help those who experience pain, not justifying what he did. And I'm not making him to a hero, but I'm saying he was trying to help people who face similar dilemmas with health insurers and with back pain. Let's see, he cut himself off from his family and close friends in recent months. His relatives have said in a statement that they reported him missing in San Francisco. So, yeah, I like AP because they usually put in all the back stuff at the end and they build on it. And they talk about Brian Thompson. They said Brian Thompson grew up on a farm in Iowa, trained as an accountant, married father of two high schoolers. He had worked at the giant United Health Group for 20 years and became CEO of its insurance arm in 2021. So he was a man on the rise, but what was he? An insurer? No, he was an accountant. An accountant. And that's really what this is about, the allocation of money. Don't take it personally, just business. And Luigi was mad, upset, and allegedly went off the rails here. Like I said in my columns, check them out on ASAM News or Inquirer.net. There are other ways to deal with insurance companies. I mean, you write letters, you write to your congressperson. Murder is not assassination. No, that's not the way. That is not the way. All right, enough about Luigi. And now here in California, I'm in California. Bird flu is a thing now. It's declared an emergency, and I don't know if anyone really knows about bird flu. They found some farm workers with bird flu. This is serious because flu jumps species, and human beings are getting it. So, as a public service, this is the new health emergency in California. California officials have declared a state of emergency over the spread of bird flu, which is tearing through dairy cows in that state and causing sporadic illnesses in people in the U.S. And here's what's important about this. You gotta remember, they don't test. It's probably greater, the impact on dairy cows, probably because they don't test. There's no mandatory tests for bird flu in the dairy farms. So whatever they say, 10x it in your mind, because it's real. It's a state of emergency in California, and the concern should be that not many people know as much about bird flu. I mean, it's spread for years in wild birds, commercial poultry, and many mammal species. but it's never reached this level. The virus, also known as type A H5N1, so type A H5N1, detected for the first time in the U.S. dairy cattle in March. Since then, bird flu has been confirmed in at least 866 herds in 16 states. It's not just in California. So if you thought by my casual lead-in, because of California's emergency announcement, it's just in California. No. Found in 866 herds in 16 states. More than 60 people in 8 states have been infected, and mostly mild illnesses, according to the CDC, the United Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. One person in Louisiana has been hospitalized with the nation's first known severe illness caused by the virus, health officials said this week. So here's what you need to know. Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency in California. The governor declared the emergency to better position the state staff and supplies to respond to the outbreak. California has been looking for bird flu in large milk tanks during processing, and they have found the virus in at least 650 herds, representing about 3/4 of all affected U.S. dairy herds. This is in California. Contented cows are fighting bird flu. The virus was recently detected in Southern California dairy farmers after being found in the state's Central Valley since August. Newsom's statement. This proclamation is a targeted action to ensure government agencies have the resources and flexibility they need to respond quickly. So the risk of the general public, CDC officials said, low risk this week. Low risk. Importantly, there are no reports of person-to-person transmission and no signs that the virus has changed to spread more easily among humans. Although, look, it spread between species, which is harder. Do you think it could spread? I mean, logic says if the key thing is, it's jumped species, oh my God, cows and birds to humans, oh my God, that should alarm you. It would be logical to say that person-to-person, species-to-species transmission might be easier than the hard one. And yet, there's no reports, although maybe that's because we don't know. People don't test. And so, I don't know. I would be suspicious of the CDC saying, well, it's a low risk to the general public. In general, flu experts agreed that with the assessment saying it's too soon to tell what trajectory the outbreak could take. Yeah, too soon. I like that. Not enough. Don't know enough. Too soon. Meanwhile, I think you could be more cautious than they are. I think that would just be more prudent, right? This week, health officials confirmed the first known case of severe illness in the U.S. All the previous U.S. cases, there have been about 60, were generally mild. The patient in Louisiana, who is older than 65 and had underlying medical problems, is in critical condition, though. Few details have been released, but officials said the person developed severe respiratory symptoms after exposure to a backyard flock of sick birds. So you got birds, you got cows. That makes it the first confirmed U.S. infection tied to backyard birds, the CDC said. Tests showed that the last strain that caused the person's illness is one found in wild birds, but not in cattle. So a lot of his strains, wild birds, not cattle. Previous infections in the U.S. have been almost all in farm workers with direct exposure to infected cattle or poultry. In 2 cases, an adult in Missouri and a child in California, health officials have not determined how they caught it. So, a virus expert said, I assume that every H5N1 virus has the potential to be very severe and deadly. Don't mess around with this. So how do you protect yourself? People who have contact with dairy cows or commercial poultry or with backyard birds are at higher risk and should use precautions, including respiratory and eye protection and gloves. Respiratory, eye protection, and gloves. If you deal with dairy cows, or maybe he or she just looks like a cow. No, okay. Emil, that was a bad joke, Emil. Okay, all right, then maybe. Unfair to the cows. If birds are beginning to appear ill or die, they should be very careful about how they handle those animals, says Michael Osterholm, University of Minnesota. The CDC has paid for flu shots to protect farm workers against seasonal flu and against the risks that the workers could become infected with two flu types at the same time. Okay. And so, how else is it spread? In addition to direct contact with farm animals and wild birds, H5N1 virus can be spread in raw milk. Hi, RFK Jr., are you listening? He's a big raw milk fan. Pasteurized milk, it's been Frenchified, is safe to drink because the heat treatment kills the virus, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. In Los Angeles, county officials reported that 2 indoor cats that were fed the recalled raw milk died from bird flu infections. They had raw milk sold in California stores in recent weeks that were recalled. Officials were investigating additional reports of sick cats. Oh, poor cats. Health officials urge people to avoid drinking raw milk, which can spread a host of germs in addition to bird flu. So, yeah, so raw milk, that is a problem. Oh, well, raw milk. Best thing, don't drink any milk. Be vegan, really. That's the only. Be vegan in preparation for veganuary. Veganuary? It's hard to say. Vegan January. All right, that's it for our show. Busy day. Busy day. Hope you're having a holiday party. I hope there's a government tomorrow. I mean, I don't know what the latest is, but an hour ago, Donald Trump was on his social media saying, "Oh, we found an issue. We found a problem." But the real problem is President Elon. Does President Elon like it? I don't know. I don't like this idea. Elon Musk was not on the ballot, but just because he gave $300 million to Donald Trump doesn't mean that he should have his hooks into Trump and that he should control Donald Trump as if he was some kind of remote control doll. I don't like that. I mean, I'm willing to see what Trump will do in this lame duck term he has. But, this knee-jerk reaction to do whatever Elon does or Elon wants. Although, look, if Trump is true to form, his ego will not allow Elon Musk to horn in. And that might be the message to Donald Trump. Hey, Donald, don't give up your ego to Elon. Come on. That might be the way. Look, I'm hoping for everyone to win. I want America to be great again. But my way. My way. All right, that's it. That's it for our show. Hey, back again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific. We like to close with a little meditation. Check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Emil Amok. YouTube channel, Facebook. We like to close with a little loving kindness. Of course, loving kindness. You put it out, comes back twofold. It's great. It's great. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time.